Well, this is awkward. So one of the main things I had been told when I was going to India was to not ride in the unreserved or standing only general class on a train. And what this is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a part on the train which goes all throughout India where you book the cheapest ticket possible and it's standing room only essentially, and you are surrounded by a bunch of people. So I get a lot of this conservative travel advice, usually along the lines of don't travel alone as a girl, don't ride in taxis alone as a girl, don't walk alone at night as a girl. I don't listen to any of it, really. I mean, I do all of those things. I just happened to listen to this piece of advice my entire 2.5 months in India because there was never a time that I thought it would be comfortable in any way to stand on a train. I was taking trains for a long time, anywhere between 14 to like 45 hours, and I wanted a bed, or I wanted a seat, or I wanted something that was more comfortable than standing room only. After we left beautiful Dharamshala and started going back down to New Delhi, I was traveling with my two friends that I had met in another city called Rishikesh, and we were on the train together, and we were only going to Agra, which is 3 hours from New Delhi by train. And there were two guys, and I figured, like, if there's time to do it, like, let's take non-reserved now. Let's give it a shot. The ride started out lovely enough, but as the train continued to different train stations, we kept on picking up more and more people, and people weren't getting off, and it got really crowded.
A little crowded in here?
We were packed in there like sardines, or tuna, as Yuri said.
I feel like a tuna.
You are like a tuna fish.
Now that's totally 100% fine. I don't mind crowds, and if anything, I was expecting this. But then this group of guys, or actually this one guy, walked up to me, and we're on a bumpy train, right? You're touching people, you're smushed in this area. But this guy kind of fell into me and was like, oh, sorry. And he was touching me everywhere. Like, it was so fucking obvious what he was doing. It was crazy, but I tried to play it off and like act like it was, you know, an accident in some way, and I was like, oh, it's okay, all right. And so once this guy did it, then the other teenage guys on the train must have thought if he got away with it, then they could too. So then they started coming up and fake falling into me, and then some guy grabbed my ass, and that was the last damn straw. So I said, enough, stop touching me. And they didn't back down. Then the guy got in my face, then my two guy friends started getting in their face, and then other guys who were completely unrelated to the situation started getting in my friend's face, and I just realized this was actually not a cool situation to be in at all. So I grabbed my two friends and we walked through the train to the reserved class where there are seats, and we sat there, even though we did not have a ticket. So this is the place you want to be. There are families, other women. You're able to peacefully read your book or have a conversation. So I had ridden the train all over India. I was traveling by myself. I was sleeping in a bunk by myself. I was surrounded by other guys, other women, other families, and there was never a problem, not once. I met some of the most amazing and incredibly kind people when I was on the train, and it was my favorite way to get around India for sure. The whole time you're in transit, there's vendors coming through selling tea or food. It's awesome. So please don't take away from this video that you shouldn't ride the train in India. You should. It's amazing. But maybe think about listening to the advice of only booking reserved tickets. All's well that ends well though. We ended up getting to Agra and then went to the Taj Mahal, took a few quick snaps, and then the next day I went back to New Delhi to get a flight to Nepal. Nepal is a super mountainous, landlocked country in between China and India. It's not big, but it's still home to 8 of the 10 highest mountains in the world, and one of those mountains is Mount Everest. I've been obsessed with Mount Everest since I was a little girl. I know I told you guys that I was a surf instructor before I left on this trip, but I was actually also a snowboard instructor before I left on this trip. I would spend half the year at the beach and the other half in the mountains. I'm a mountain girl. I love mountain life, and Everest is the pinnacle of that. So it's a 2.5-week trip from Lukla to Everest Base Camp. But here's the thing, I had come from India and then before that Southeast Asia, so I had nothing appropriate. I wasn't planning on coming to Nepal or definitely not trekking to Mount Everest, so I was, shall I say, unprepared. I was originally planning on doing the trek on my own, but then completely coincidental when I put up on Facebook that I was going to Nepal, a friend in high school's older sister was in Nepal doing her grad program here, and she wanted to do the trek as well, so we met up and tackled it together. I was super stoked that I had a friend who was down for as much of an adventure as I was. So I met up with my friend Kathy and we went shopping in Kathmandu. So the way Kathmandu is set up is that there are so many little local stalls and vendors who are basically all just selling things for the Everest Base Camp trek or other treks in Nepal. They all happen to be Patagonia and North Face and Colombia, and the story that you're told there is that it fell off the truck or it fell off the factory line or something. I think that maybe they are really good counterfeits, but you can negotiate really, really well, and honestly, I had absolutely nothing. It was either this counterfeit stuff or nothing, so my counterfeit, that's what I did. So after days and days of shopping in the little stalls in Kathmandu, this is what I ended up with. 1 trekking book, 2 pairs of long underwear, 1 pair of very cozy and handmade mittens, this windbreaker, and this vest. That's it. I wore my Chuck Taylors for about 80% of the hike, and then I changed into these when there was snow on the ground because, you know, these are clearly snow boots. In addition to all this stuff, I had a sleeping bag. I bought a Sub-Zero North Face. So all of these things went all in a backpack along with the sleeping bag and a hat and my Chucks. And we booked our flight from Kathmandu to Lukla. Lukla is known as one of the most dangerous airports in the world for quite a few reasons. 1, it's on the side of a mountain. And 2, because of the mountainous terrain, weather changes can happen instantly, like literally in a matter of minutes. It can be a completely beautiful sunny day and it can go to hailing, hell hath no fury storm. And on top of all of this, the pilots fly by sight, which means they don't use radar. So the flight attendant walks down the aisle and starts pulling off little bits of cotton for us to stick in our ears because the plane and the flight is so loud. And the pilots push a billion buttons and we are off. We are officially jamming over the Himalayas. Everyone's super stoked, they're geared up, they're ready to go. Everyone here flew in from all over the world to be here, to hike in this area and to see these mountains. It's super crazy too because you have to be so high in the plane to avoid hitting a mountain, but then when it's time to land, you have to drop really, really fast so you can land on the side of the mountain because you're like there's a bunch of different mountains that are all like this and you're flying over them and then you suddenly need to land on one. So it's probably the fastest drop I've ever felt while in an airplane. It's a stomach dropping drop.
Landed on the side of the mountain.
Kathy and I wanted to do this hike on our own, so we didn't hire a guide or a porter. A porter is someone who carries your bag for you. And we really wanted to push ourselves and figure this out on our own. So we walked just a little bit that first day because we had already gained a bunch of altitude by flying to Lukla and we needed to let our body acclimatize. An average of 3 people a year die just on this trek because they were not acclimatizing properly. So it's not something that either of us wanted to mess with. But anyway, we checked into a little tea house along our path. Tea houses are everywhere and they're basically really just little rustic hotels. They're super cheap, anywhere between $3 to $4 a night, but also very, very basic. For that price, you just get a mattress in a shared room. There's probably a squat toilet down the hall and there's usually not any electricity and there's only heat in the main eating area. The reason the places are so cheap is because they want you are required to eat at the tea house that you stay at, and that's how they make their money. So the next day we hiked up to Sagarmatha Park, which is Everest National Park, to get our permits and start the 2.5-week trek to Everest Base Camp. Coming up next is the Everest Base Camp trek. Icicles, prayer flags, and miles under our feet. Subscribe now for new videos every week, and thanks for watching.